Brian Westbrook with GeekWire Studios here at AWS Marketplace Seller Conference 2024, joined by Vice President of Marketplace and Partner Services, Matt Yanchyshyn. Welcome. It's good to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
This is an exciting conference, a great opportunity to get the partners, the developers, all of the key players in the AWS Marketplace space together. What have you gotten out of today so far? I know you just got done with your keynote. What are you hearing from partners already?
Yeah, well, first of all, this is my favorite conference of the year because this is the people who are really like in the trenches doing it every day. So I get some of the best feedback from partners of any conference, and I do a lot of conferences every year. Well, a lot of excitement. I mean, the growth has been pretty amazing over the last few years, and even between the 12 months that I stood on stage and this year, some of the statistics that I was able to talk about are pretty amazing. So everyone's excited about the opportunity. I think with opportunity comes great responsibility, with growth rather comes great responsibility. So I think the scale that we're operating a lot of people are talking about how they can make it easy to work with Marketplace because they're doing greater volume. So a lot of focus, maybe more than before, on operational efficiency, reducing procurement friction and making it easier for kind of customers and partners. So that's a big sort of thing I'm hearing. The other theme and maybe change from last time we spoke last year is a lot of focus on product-led growth and on the buyer journey. This is a seller conference, and I think historically we've talked a lot about sellers, but we're hearing a lot of success stories from partners who have really embraced sort of buyer-side improvements along with things like private offers and seller-side efficiency improvements. And so that sort of hybrid buyer-seller conversation is definitely coming up a lot.
So let's talk about successes over the past year, and then we'll get to what's looking forward. What are some of the highlights for your past year?
Yeah, well, I mean, when I stood on a stage at our reInvent conference, I guess in November last year, it was with Salesforce. And that was like a watershed moment for not just for Salesforce and AWS, but also horizontal business applications on AWS. And with ServiceNow, with Salesforce, with Infor, with Adobe, suddenly it's like, one of the fastest growing categories on AWS. And that's exciting because we're growing, I think, faster with those companies than we even anticipated at the beginning. And it's bringing a whole new cohort of buyers and personas to the marketplace. And that's really exciting because it's really creating demand for new types of features, new types of buying motions. And it's everyone likes evolution and change and coupled with growth. And that's being driven a lot by horizontal business apps.
And one of the things we talked about in the keynote, over 100 new features have been launched, whether that be features or products or offerings, have been launched in Marketplace to really enrich the experience. And even in the past year, it's grown from an app store with some features to a full-fledged portal that allows customers to really embark on the journey from a number of different perspectives. Talk to me about a couple of those and how your customers using Marketplace are really just kind of highlighting on, I can do this now, I can do this now, I can do this.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I guess 13 years ago now when Marketplace started, it was effectively a self-service app store, B2B, but where people would go and primarily discover and buy what they want to self-service. And then we introduced private offers and contract-based negotiation, and that really took off. Then we introduced channel-based procurement, and that took off again. And so, all of that evolution is really mapping towards like enterprise buying patterns, how they buy, obviously with contracts in addition to consumption-based. With their channel partners, we started to embrace distribution partners, and we've been shifting toward this sort of enterprise way of selling and buying supported by Marketplace over several years. So what we've seen over the last 6-12 months is really doubling down on that. And with, like I said, new buyers coming from horizontal business applications, it's increased the need for seamless procurement system integration, like seamless process. Marketplace has to kind of work like the new normal for procuring IT solutions. So we've been really focusing on making it the new normal with these big enterprise buyers, but also catering to the long tail and kind of the next generation of buyers. So that evolution from App Store, like you said, to sort of full portfolio IT solution acquisition platform has continued, and it's really driven a lot of the last 6-12 months of roadmap.
Talk about that growth, talk about some success stories. What are the customers really getting? Can you highlight a couple of examples of what they're getting out of Marketplace?
Yeah, well, maybe a couple examples jump to mind. I mentioned Salesforce as a partner and some of our joint customers. I think the idea that you could buy your CRM or your data cloud from a Marketplace would kind of blow a lot of people's mind, and that's happening all the time now. But also, what I'm really excited about is the next generation. We have some amazing partners like Databricks, like CrowdStrike, like Salesforce, like all these others. But customers these days are really focused on generative AI and a lot of these innovative, and they want to try a bunch of new technologies before and there's a lot of players in this space. So what I'm excited about is the growth of partners like Pinecone, for example. And if you went on our marketplace website, I think it's actually still there, but a couple months ago, Pinecone was listed alongside some of those largest partners as one of the top selling products through marketplace, which is wild. I mean, they're still a startup, and it's being driven by this customer demand for vector databases to complement their machine learning models. And seeing customers turn to marketplace to procure the tools they need to kind of innovate with the latest trends like Gen AI is validating and exciting, because it means that it's not just for sort of traditional application procurement, it's also like a vehicle for procurement to fuel innovation.
But also trials, yeah?
Oh yeah, SaaS free trials. I mean, we launched that a couple of years ago, and that's really paid off. I mentioned product-led growth, like buyer-focused features. Increasingly in marketplaces is how partners are pouring gas on demand gen. Customers can come and try before they buy. They can request an offer, request request a demo, do all these things sort of before the actual purchase experience. And that we're seeing is leading to like considerably higher conversion rates, higher customer retention rates, and ultimately more leads for our partners. So customers love marketplace as a way to not just discover what they want, but also try and increasingly configure what they want. We have SaaS quick launch now. After you buy, actually setting it up with other partner services or other AWS services to make it sort of useful on day one.
I want to talk about Marketplace and kind of the future and what's next. Now, one of your big goals is to get Marketplace everywhere. Let's talk a little bit about internationalization and the goals to get currencies and taxation and some of the things you talked about on stage. What's happening there, and what should we be looking forward to?
Yeah, so I've been saying marketplace everywhere since I was on stage last year, and you're right, that's twofold. The first side is international. So buyers want to pay, customers want to pay in their own currency. We support 14 currencies, but sellers, the partners, also want to be paid in the local currency and have end-to-end transactions in local currency. So that's why we're adding support for Euro and Australian dollar and Japanese yen and adding additional currencies going forward. But it's not just there, and I think what we've learned is you need support for currencies, but also local taxation, you need support for local bank accounts. So you need both the buyer side of internationalization and the seller side, and to make it compliant end-to-end from a tax and invoicing perspective. So that's hard. And we really feel it's an undifferentiated heavy lifting for sellers that we can take on their behalf. And so it's a huge seller value in addition, obviously, to a buyer value, so they can buy from local partners in the currency of their choice. The other side of Marketplace Everywhere is like meeting customers where they are and putting Marketplace listings where they actually show up. And like I said, all these new types of buyers are showing up, and they're not always coming to Marketplace. Like they want things in their own currency, but they also want to find and buy things on the sites they go to. So we're working with our Buy with AWS initiative and our APIs to expose marketplace listings on other third-party websites. And that's really exciting, because then we can bring new business, new customers, and really meet customers where they are, and still, instead of having to have them jump through multiple hoops to buy.
It's been fascinating to watch AWS Marketplace grow and expand, and you have kind of a little bit of a personal challenge, something that you want to see, a goal of yours that you want to see happen on this stage here at Seller Conference. Why don't you tell us about that?
Oh, well, you might be referring to the Chief Procurement Officer. Is that the one?
Yep.
Yeah, so, I've been with AWS for about 12 years, and the old challenge, like about a decade ago, was to get the CISO on stage to say that, they were comfortable with AWS. And I remember the CISO of one of the world's largest banks said he can be more secure in the cloud. And that was like a huge moment. And so my version of that, my personal challenge, is to have the Chief Procurement Officer of a major multinational come on stage and say that Marketplace makes it easier to procure all of my IT solutions. And that's a tough hill to climb.
It's also a bit of a North Star for you and the team. Like, this is what we're trying to accomplish. And it's not about the accolades or the recognition on stage. It's about the work that it takes to get to there. And I just had to throw you off script there a little bit to get that on record so that we can have that goal. As of today, that's a moving forward, something that you're looking forward to happening.
Absolutely.
Matt, thank you so much for the time. Anything we didn't talk about? Anything you'd like to add?
I think we talked about international, we talked about Marketplace Everywhere, we talked about getting that CPO on stage with me next year, and so we hit on some of the highlights. I appreciate it.
And we're going to bring the lead singer of the Flaming Lips up here next year, I think, right?
He is more than welcome. Yeah, I love that band. That'd be great.
That's a little bit of an inside joke. If you were here at Seller Conference, you know that concerts and lead singers are kind of a theme here, kind of a little informal fun that we have. Matt Yanchyshyn, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Brian Westbrook with GeekWire Studios, and thanks for watching.